affirmative action will no longer be in effect when it comes to colleges and universities. So they're no longer going to take race into consideration when they are admitting students.
Right.
It's like, why are we voting on things that are sending us ahead, that are progressive and going back? Now, we know like the PWIs, they barely are letting us in there, the competitive institutions like the Harvards, the Princetons. You don't see a lot of black faces, a lot of colored faces. And they're saying, well, this is actually going to help that.
I don't see
How is it going to help when they had to use or had to have a certain amount of African Americans or Asian American, whatever the case? Now they can just, it could just be all white people if they wanted to.
Right, exactly. And that's really the problem, because this is one of those things that when you look at it on paper, it's supposed to sound like this is the right thing. We're not going to admit anybody by race, but when you know the reality of it and how many people that are non-white that have been held back from attending these institutions, we needed this for a reason. Here's the only positive spin I hope comes out of this, L'Oreal. Maybe as black people we'll say, you know what, forget your institution, man, I'm going to a HBCU. There's always that conversation had about, well, what if we just went to our own schools anyway? How much more can we uplift our HBCUs if all the number one athletes went to HBCUs, all the top prospects in whatever their field?
I would say that that's correct if it was as respected. Like if Howard was considered an Ivy League school, then yes. But it's still always looked at as that's not a top school.
I know, that's
so
the
then
problem.
when it comes to being into, that's what makes it not fair.
You have black people that are qualified, that are meeting those qualifications, that weren't getting into the schools despite being qualified.
Right.
And that was the reason for a program like affirmative action. So when you take that away, how many black people that deserve to be there won't get an opportunity to be there?
That's the problem. There's no checks and balances.
Exactly.
Michelle Obama and Barack are even speaking out about it. And they said, my heart breaks for any young person out there who's wondering what their future holds. Because at this point, like we said, they could be like, well, we want these prestigious white students.
Right.
We don't want the hood ones that, like, you already know how they're going to do us, how they've been doing us. But you know what? Hopefully, like you said, this just puts us in the mind frame to know that we have to put into our own institutions where we want to teach what we need to teach, just like how they're removing Black history from certain curriculums in Florida. Exactly. We need to pay attention to what's going on. They're trying to erase our history, so let's make our history be known and figure out how to get behind our HBCUs.
Come on over to the HBCU Life. Shout out to my school, Winston-Salem State University, North Carolina. Stand up.
If they giving you hard times, if they only want white people in the classrooms, if they only want the Indians, come to HBCU.
We are the Morning Hustle.